Okay, so I think this is going to be a popular topic, and please ask questions. I think I kind of addressed everything, and I feel like we've already kind of been talking about the relationship we have with the photographer on their wedding day and how we try to curate it from the very beginning. But these are going to be more specifics and practical tips, I think. So establish yourself as a professional. Don't ignore them. Introduce yourself and let them know that you don't want to get in their way and to let you know if they need anything. So this is just the very basic beginning introduction, and you just want to make a great impression, and you want to just be very clear that you don't want to be a burden and you want to be their friend. You know, it's like very easy. Help them find a location for the dress, you know, because you're in preparations, or help them clean up the area where you both want to shoot. If you use their detailed setups, be helpful during as well as cleanup. So I actually have a really interesting perspective because we did do photography for a little bit. And so one of the weddings that we did, we had a videographer, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be really cool. I'm going to kind of like see the other side. And what's funny is I set up some details. I had the stationery out. I had the engagement ring. It was like on a chair. And I was shooting it, and he was shooting over my shoulder. But I was done, so he was going to keep shooting. And then I realized, I went back in the room, and everything was still sitting there, including the ring. And he just left it there. And I'm like, whoa, it was like, this is like probably a $10,000 ring. Like, you should have given it back to me. You should have given it back to the bride. And hang on, can I have some water? When I talk, I don't breathe. So now, like, that made me be very intentional. If I'm going to use their shots that they set up, I'm going to at least be helpful while they're shooting. Like, a lot of times, like if they have like that pretty style board and they're putting stuff really beautiful and like flowers, like they're doing like the whole like detail stuff, and I'm standing there with them, you know, assuming nothing else needs to be done, I've held reflectors for them. I've held up, like let them borrow one of my macro lenses, you know. I've just been really helpful, and I think that kind of just like lets them or eases them into letting us use what they just designed. I think some photographers might be like, this is my signature look, and you're kind of stealing it. I mean, I've heard some photographers say that. But if you're like helpful with them during it, helping them to get their shots, they usually don't care if you're just going to come in and get the same shot. Now that, I mean, on a different note, I typically don't use the stuff that they do. Some stuff that works really well for video is a little, or for photos, a little weird for video, like how staged it is. So a lot of times I don't even use it. But if I'm going to use it, I'm going to be helpful, and then especially if they leave and I'm left filming it, I'm going to clean up, put things back where it needs to go. I'm not going to leave that as their burden because now I'm using it. So work alongside the photographer. You both want the same things: good light, special moments, and the flexibility to move around. You have the same goals. Like, you're there to capture the same stuff, and so it only makes sense to work together, instead of having your own vision and own idea of where you want everything and trying to do a completely separate shoot where it feels like two different days. You know, you just work alongside, and I think that'll be the best for both of you. And it's funny, I don't know if we get into this later, but the photographer that we worked with last Saturday, we like asking photographers, so what's your videographer nightmare story? Because we want to know, like, what are videographers doing? And she said, I don't even know if it was recently, but the one that came to her mind was during portraits, she wasn't even done shooting, and the videographer stepped in and was like, and just like took the couple away. And she was like, I was almost done. You know, it's like he didn't communicate with her. He literally just took over and took them away. So really try to work with the photographer in the setting that they're already in. And if you're running out of time, I just think communication can solve a lot of issues. But I wouldn't just hijack the couple. Anyways. And actually, if you guys want to learn videographer nightmare stories, you should be asking your photographer when you're sitting down for dinner, so what are some of the terrible things that videographers have done? And you'll get really interesting stories. But then you can share your nightmare photographer stories, and then it's like a fun laugh. So.
But you also get a feel for what photographers hate.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know, you hear enough of those stories, you realize, you know, you might be like, well, that's something I do.
Yeah. And there was one of those. Actually, I've started reconsidering one of the shots that we always get is behind the couple coming into the ballroom for their entrance. One photographer that we really respect and we work with a lot, she's like, she was venting about a videographer that she's like, oh my gosh, like why do videographers just come in? They're like in every entry shot. And we're like, oh crap, we do that. You know, we like try to stay low, we try to get off to the side, and I'm like, do we really need that shot? And so John and I have been playing with that. I'm like, maybe we don't really need to be at the door. Maybe we can be off to the side and then come in later or just get a different perspective.
But it's so important, and I know we keep harping on it, communication, talking with a photographer, finding out what shot they're going for, because you might find out that the shot you want isn't even something they're going for.
Yeah,
but if it's something that's really important to them, then you know that you want to be as much out of the shot as possible.
Yeah. I mean, with that same example of coming in during the introduction of the bride and groom, a lot of photographers, their shot is once the couple is as far in as the dance floor. So they don't need the door shot. So that's fine. You can go in because they don't need that. And it's just, but some photographers, that is the shot. So you just want to be clear, like ask them where they're shooting, what section is going to be there, like what they're focused on. So most photographers are trained in posing, so let them take the lead. You'll be able to evaluate if you can use what they are also doing. Shoot the moments that work for video and rest while they do things that only work for photo. Or you could get the details, kind of like we were talking about. We can just get close-ups of other things. Before they change poses or locations, do the shot you want in that same or close to the same pose and direct the couple yourself. And learn posing. I think this was supposed to go before the posing keynote, but learn posing. When the photographer has someone else who steps in to direct, they may actually find it a nice break and may find new inspiration in your poses. Others will ignore what you're doing, and that's okay too. So, overcoming challenges. When the photographer is popping a lot of flash during preparations or portraits, we film in 60 frames so that we can slow down the footage and use the moments in between the flashes. That's just a practical tip. It's inconvenient that it happens, but it's going to happen. It's the nature of the game. And I also ask if we can redo poses with no flashing. And because if there's a lot of flashing and I just know I'm not getting a moment in between, I'm like, all right, can we just do that real quick without the flash? It's so beautiful. And I think the photographer and the bride and groom hear it too. They know that they don't want like strobing in all their video. So like, hang on, let me just get it real quick without flash going off. And so they just like rest for a second. I just get my shot of whatever I was trying to get. Did I go backwards? Photographers who are strictly photojournalistic have minimal portraits. Consider this, or consider that this may be a desire of the couple, and they don't want a lot of portraits in their video either. But you can always ask, you can always, if you have a moment, you're like, can I just get a shot of you guys together? Just look at each other real quick and kind of direct it in a quick pose. And if they just don't seem into it because the photographer wasn't doing it either, then you can just let it go. They want the real moments of the day more than the shots. But a lot of couples, I feel like when we have a photojournalistic photographer, the couples are still interested in portraits. So we'll still do our own thing. The photographer just doesn't shoot it. It's not really going to be in the schedule, but I feel like there would be pockets of time kind of being opportunistic, like we've been talking about. And you know if they're photojournalistic because they're not doing any directing during prep. You're the one saying, all right, come to the window, and you're the one saying, all right, now come over here. Like you'll actually be directing, and they won't be doing any directing. Be mindful of your video gear. It's big, black, and bulky. Keep your gear hidden or laying down safely until you need to use it. So I'm just like real sensitive to the fact that our stuff is big, and I wish they made clear light stands and clear tripods. I'm like, there's a market for that. There needs to be something that's pretty, but right now there isn't anything that I know of. But so I don't want it in their shots. I don't want that to have to burden them. Like if I'm there early and I'm setting it for the ceremony, like if it's a beautiful outdoor scene, I don't need to set up my side tripods yet, or if I want to try to save time, I'll set them up and lay them down somewhere. Just because if I know the photographer hasn't gotten that big detail or wide shot yet, let me just like lay them down, put them off to the side. Same thing for, this will benefit you too, like if you're at the reception, excuse me. And all your stuff's in the corner, like against the wall. I feel like we struggle with this still. You're like, oh crap, our tripods and our light stands and everything are just in the corner, and it might be near the first dance or something. So we try to lay things down against the wall. So it's not in our shot, but it's also not going to be in the photographer's shot too.
Question on the gear. What about your camera gear? And you don't carry all, like, it's a lot of money sitting in the bag. You're carrying all of your lenses and camera gear.
Not all of it. So we have think tanks, like the rolly bags, and we'll keep it up by the stage or by the band, kind of hidden because there's a lot of stuff up there. And we've never had an issue with security yet. We do have a problem with when they tell us to put our bags far away where we have no access to it. For those, we'll just put away the tripod bags, the light bags, anything that's like supports or whatever. But we'll still keep our think tanks near us because we need to access those lenses. We need our batteries. So we tell them, no, we need these bags, but everything else we can put away.
The closer you can put your stuff, your valuable stuff to like the DJ or band, I think it's generally a little bit safer. Most of the times people who run into problems, it's farther away. So just that's what we try to do.
So that's it. I did a video on this that was about like 30 or 40 minutes, and I go into a lot more detail about like placement of things. But I can like, maybe I should post that. But do you guys have any questions? Yeah?
How do you, it's almost a topic that I deal with, like, that I have to worry about mentally. How do you, okay, so her and her second shooter, they stand beside each other the whole day. There's no two different vantage points. It's just, I think they just shoot wide.
Yeah.
Right. The whole time. So when the bride and groom is coming down the aisle, they are beside each other, in front, beside each other.
Are they standing up?
They are standing up, not one on one high. They are standing beside each other like they're stuck together. And when they're coming down after they're married, they're standing beside each other. And I can have.
Are they shooting two different focal lengths and they just feel like they need?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
During the portraits?
Yeah, regardless of when they are, regardless of how tight the aisle is, it could be a tighter aisle, than our aisle. So I had a conversation, like, I'm doing video, like, where, I try to be nice and like, where? But in my mind, like, where do you think I'm gonna be at?
Yeah.
Doing all of this. So, like, what ways do you, like, would you, like, try to say, hey, I need to be there as well?
Yeah. Now you're talking specifically the ceremony?
No, this is the whole day.
The whole day.
The whole day?
That's like the main times that I can't work around because I need to be out as well. It's not like I need to be a builder, but just on the side, like you can be a builder, I can get what I need, but be on the side, you can be a builder.
Yeah.
But how do you, have you had like somebody who just does not look at video like it's important and you just get away?
I don't think, there are some photographers that hate video or they just don't care about it. But I think more often they're just oblivious. They're like in their focus tunnel and they're just trying to get what they see in their camera in all the moments. And unfortunately for us, like they don't see us, they don't remember us. I hope it's because, like I said, they're in that creative bubble and that they're not trying to screw us over. So I try to, that they don't have bad intentions. But when that happens, we have had that happen, we'll just kind of have to keep stepping in. Hey, we need to get the shot, and we're just going to keep doing it. Like, we're just going to get more, like, if that has to happen all day, it's going to happen all day. I think eventually maybe they'll get the hint, hopefully. If it happened, like, during the ceremony, or if we're having problems, through the whole leading up to the ceremony, I would ask very specifically, where are you going to be? I was like, okay, well, I'm going to be right here. And so I will be like very specific. I wouldn't assume that they remember that I'm up there, like without talking to them. But we would just be a little more aggressive.
We've been doing this for a number of years, and there's definitely times we've gotten more vocal about making sure that we get our shots. But we've also we've never really had hard talks with the photographers. We've always just kind of adapted to what they're doing to get what we need. There's usually one or two moments where we have to kind of more forcibly just get the shot we need before the shot gets ruined.
We'll redo something, like, all right, do that again.
She was saying yesterday that that we had one where 3 photographers were side by side during the bride and groom coming down the aisle. Kaye went up there and went next to them.
Actually, that's not true. I couldn't.
Oh, you couldn't. But sometimes she does. She'll go up next to them, so that means she gets a shot as well.
Yeah.
But you can. Let me just say this. You can be successful in spite of all that. There's workarounds, there's ways to get what you need. having this talks with the photographer, I don't think produces any real fruit. And, having to talk with the planner is really not going to do much. And the only time I would ever say something is if like the client is very, very, very specific about something that they need. And then I would think it's fair to say that, you have to make sure that you get that shot. But that's kind of how I'd go about that. I mean, there's ways to work around them. And maybe it's just more of an encouragement of find the ways to work around and work around what they're currently doing. There's going to be ways, but every once in a while you're just going to get one that's extremely difficult. I don't think saying anything is going to do anything, and that wedding is just going to look a little different.
Yeah.
But let me one more thought about the whole, working with the photographer thing. We have talked to a lot of photographers, and just when you're working with the photographer, just be mindful about how close you're getting. In the same way, we need to be mindful. We're often thinking about how close they are. We all have the stories of the photographer who shoots the entire day on like a fisheye lens and has to be 2 inches from the couple the entire day. I was joking, but like the 35 photographer the entire day is 2 feet away from the couple. I've also heard a lot of stories from the photographers about the videographers who are close as well. If you need to get in close, get your shot, come out, but communicate with the photographer and say, hey, look, I need to go in real close for the shot. Do you mind if I get in real close? And I'm going to pop right back out for you to get your shot. Communication, being mindful will allow you both to work together and both get the stuff you need. And it really is a two-way street of just talking to each other. And the more you communicate, the more you're both going to get the shots that you need. Because you'd be amazed at how much time you could spend kind of working against each other, and that really just kills a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. And we have really great experiences with most photographers, even the ones that are hard to work with, like the one he was just talking about, where it was the lead, and she had 2 shooters, and they were all 3 side by side. And this was the exit. They did it after the bride and groom were pronounced. This was an Indian wedding too, so they were up front, and they all come down, as they were pronounced man and wife or whatever, and they come back down the aisle. It's not like during the ceremony or her coming up the aisle. It's just when it was finished and they're coming back. All 3 of them were doing that, and they did the same thing for the exit. They did a flower petal exit, and all 3 of them. But John knew he was on his own end, so there's 4 of them coming down to get this flowers. So I got no shot, but John got the shot. But even when they're difficult to work with, like they've still been like really nice people. And we did another wedding where they do shoot maybe on the 14, like the husband would shoot on the 14 all day. Yeah, and so, but I knew what he was going for. Like he's going for the up close, like action, like they do a lot of, they get awards for like fearless photographer stuff. And so I totally get they're fearless, right? So I knew what he was going for. I knew he was getting awesome stuff, but they were like so nice. So he knew we were there, and so that he would always just try to do everything low, and I would just shoot tight and try to shoot over his head. So that's, if they're going to be up close, as long as they're low, you can shoot tight and crop them out. But, yeah.
Is there any things y'all do consciously when you find certain photographers that you just love working with? They're like, okay, I need to, try to get more weddings. I want to get more weddings working with this photographer. Because a lot of times I find, like, by the time they have come to me for an inquiry, like they've already hired their photographer, so I don't really have much input as far as referrals a lot of times.
Right.
Just being easy to work with. Number one thing, being easy to work with, being friendly with them, learning about their personal life just a little bit, just being able to ask about family.
I mean, you can friend them on Facebook, and it's like, it really does become like a friendship. And
being personable and communicating is more than 90% of what they get. Being a good communicator. I know I keep saying being a good communicator. It's the number one complaint I get from photographers, not having enough communication.
Do you communicate with them before the wedding day? If it's like a new photographer?
If it's one we haven't worked with, John will email them.
Yeah, I usually drop them an email just to say hi, just to start off communication. One last thought, and we need to move on. When you see them for the first time in the day, stop what you're doing, say hi to them. It becomes awkward when maybe you're running late, you just jump right into shooting. You've been working alongside each other for like 15, 20 minutes, and you're like, oh, hey. Stop, say hi to them, introduce yourself, let them know that you want to work as a team. You both have a vested interest in the client being happy and producing great results. That right there will start off the day with your photographer so well. Just saying hi and all that stuff.